Alrighty, everybody.
Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back. It has been a while. Actually, just a week, like normal. But it feels like it's been a while, right?
I mean, it has been a while because we were busy the past 2 weeks.
Yep.
We were exploring the Northwest, which I had an awesome time.
Me too.
It was like a whole different universe out there. If you
It
guys
was.
are ever thinking about going west, either California, we didn't go to California, but we went to Oregon and Washington. It's just gorgeous, the mountains, and it's amazing. Obviously, you're gonna get rained on, so make sure you guys pack your raincoats.
And even if you go in almost June, you're going to get snowed on too. So, remember that as well.
Yeah, that was not fun, but that was a good experience for sure. It makes you rethink, look at your life from a different perspective. You're living a completely different life for 2 weeks, and you're not worrying about school or work or anything. And it's okay, let me look back on my life, and it really helps you clear your mind.
And you come back and you just get thrown right back into all the stuff you don't want to worry about.
But I love to worry about ASAP Finance because this is
true.
what it's all about. Because we're trying to help everyone out there. But yeah, it's good to be back. Hopefully we can keep some more guests rolling. And the boom interview was really good. That was awesome. He's such a smart guy. It's awesome that you've known him for a while now, right?
A couple years.
Yeah, that's awesome. He's a cool guy. And Hawaii too.
Yeah.
We need to go to Hawaii.
Yeah, we need to go visit him.
That place is expensive though, with you gotta ship everything so far out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we literally get to Washington, and then the market just poops itself. It literally drops. I think it's 8-9% at its bottoms, and literally just we're hiking mountains, and we're just watching crypto and NASDAQ and Dow and everything just crash, and we're just crap. Chose the wrong weeks to go on a vacation, I guess.
It was bad. And then 2 weeks later, we land. That exact week is the best week in the S&P since May 2020. So the obvious trend here is if ASAP Finance, if the hosts aren't here, watching the market, then it dies.
They can't survive without us because everyone they get so fearful if they aren't listening to ASAP Finance on a week to week basis. They're oh crap, what do I think? What do I do? But guess what? We're back, and we're here to break down it because this does not happen often at all. Because I think we're nearing from highs SPY. I think we're nearing 20%, which is technically a bear market.
Yep.
I would classify it as a bear market anyways because we just haven't done much.
And the NASDAQ is just so far beyond that.
Yeah, it's just brutal right now. And you guys are probably wondering what's wrong. Why is the market just pooping itself? But that's what we're here to talk about.
Surely there's one specific reason, right?
No, it's not one specific reason. Actually, yeah, it is. I lost a bunch of money in gambling, and I just sold everything, all of my stock. So the whole market's down.
Okay.
Because I'm a whale.
Okay.
No, but obviously there's a bunch of reasons, and we're gonna get into them. Rising interest rates we talked about in previous episodes. Inflation, everyone knows that. You literally just drive by any gas station, you can tell the difference from last year. And then obviously Russia and Ukraine is still going on, which is crazy. It sort of just was this big deal, and then everyone's it sort of fades out, but it's still existing in economy and supply chains and whatnot. And then China, that's something that's new. They had the COVID lockdowns and whatnot, but we'll get into it. And then also with Taiwan, and then also job openings and supply chains are still messed up. We're low. We don't have enough people.
Seems every day there's another thing that's got a shortage going on. Half the food that I normally buy I can't even get unless I don't I have to order avocados off Amazon, and they come in 2 weeks.
Wait, you order them off Amazon? Oh, I didn't know that. Wait, where do you order them from? Just
Amazon's,
random wholesaler?
Amazon sells all sorts of food.
Oh shoot, I did not know that. I guess I gotta look into that. Are they cheaper on there?
No.
Oh, okay. Never mind then. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll stick with Harris Teeter. No, but let's dive into raising rates. We talked about it previously, but let's just clarify what does it mean to raise rates? So they're basically raising the federal funds rate, and essentially it's just the rate at which banks borrow money. So the lower the rate, the less interest they have to pay. The higher the rate, the more interest they have to pay. And interest is not good for banks because they can't take as many loans if they have a higher interest rate. So just always have to think about that. If the interest rate is rising, then the demand for loans and borrowing of banks is going to be super low, which means it's a whole system. Starts with the Fed, and then it goes to banks, commercial banks, and then it goes to the public. And if the public can't get as many loans, then they're not going to be as well off either, which just ruins the whole thing. And they're raising the rates because they're trying to slow down the economy because of inflation. So if we flash back to March 2020, this was 2 years ago. It feels like yesterday, to be honest. but they lower the rates to basically zero. It's 0.25. That's the lowest they can rate. Lowest they can lower it, and it's basically been like that for 2 years. And then finally, after supposedly they think the economy's better now, I guess they're trying to fight inflation. They finally raised it in March 2022, and they jumped from 0.25 to 0.5, and this is when all the fear starts coming, and everyone's like, uh-oh, like, why are they raising rates? Like, the economy's going to crash, and that's just like the typical narrative around like raising rates, like, oh, everyone's going to lose their jobs, we're going to go into recession and whatnot. And then again in May, inflation is still a problem, and they raise rates again up to 1%. So it's not good.
And while we were gone in the Fed meeting, didn't they say in June and July they're going to raise it by another 0.5 percentage point?
Yeah, and that's what, I don't know. I guess that's what the market's like. Usually the market like prices things in like ahead of time. So I guess they're doing that, but it seems like we're just going to keep going down from here on out. I mean, I have no idea what's going to happen. They could raise rates even more higher than they say they're going to, because inflation is just it's literally just going up, which is another big problem that people are fearful about. Like, if you're investing your money and there's like inflation, you're like you're thinking so much about like where to put your money. Like, oh, should I put it in stocks? But stocks are down 20% the last few months. So why would I put it in stocks? Should I put it in bonds? Well, the bond market is selling off right now. So where do you put your money? And everyone's just scrambling, and they're like, okay, what do I do? Do I keep it in cash? If I keep it in cash, I'm losing 8% of it every month. So it's just like, people don't know what to do. And
they're not spending money either.
Right, because they want to save it. But also, it's a good thing though, like, to think about. I just always, people think like, oh, there's a bunch of job openings, but I think that's honestly a strong thing right now, because if you're looking at like a recession and you're like, oh, a recession might happen, usually in recessions the unemployment just skyrockets and no one can get a job, no one can pay their bills, and then everyone's like freaking out, and they have no loans, they can't get any money. But right now, unemployment has literally just been dropping ever since COVID. Like March 2020, we had that big spike. I went, I think, up to like 11-12% at some point, because everyone would just stay at home. Everyone shut down. Of course, there's going to be unemployment. And now it's literally just getting lower and lower, which I think is really good. But there's still a lot of other fears that obviously just because unemployment's low doesn't mean everything's perfect,
Yeah, and it seemed like all this, like the inflation and the interest rates are still rising, and we were like, okay, we see the market's just tanking like for an entire week, just down every day. And then next thing you know, it was like a few days into our trip, I see this headline about Luna. And I'm gonna do my best to summarize this like as quick as possible and like simple, because this is something we could easily do an entire episode on. And that I've seen like because everyone was talking about this. Luna, it's a crypto, right? And it's its own blockchain. It's a layer 1, and they so there was like before we left, like what was it? early May Luna was a top 6 crypto by market cap. It was like $30-40 billion, I think. And soon after that, they have the so Luna, the whole thing with Luna is they have a stable coin, right? And stable coins are just the coins that have the 1-to-1 dollar peg with the US dollar. And so their stable coin UST, that was like their big project. They call it Terra USD, and it was an algorithmic stable coin, which basically just means it's a computer like manipulates the supply and the demand to keep it pegged 1-to-1 with the dollar. And so this was like a new thing that it was like trying, and it grew so quickly because everyone was betting on it, right? And it's top 6, and UST is even greater market cap than Luna, which obviously kind of a bad sign, because Luna itself has to back the stablecoin, and if the stablecoin is worth more than Luna, then like if everyone was to try and sell their Luna, then there's going to be a problem there.
Which is what happened.
Yeah. So basically everything's dying, and then Luna starts to depeg a little bit. It went down to like 70 cents this first day, and people were freaking out, right? It created a bank run. Everyone was trying to sell, because a lot of people had staked their UST on Anchor, and they were earning 20%, which is ridiculous. Looking back on it, it's like, wow, how are they doing this? Like, how is this sustainable?
Like, too good to be true.
Yeah,
and apparently
in the moment, it was like, wow, this is great. And so it just went down, and it recovered one day, and then 2 days later, it went down to, this was in the span of like 2-3 days, UST went from $1 or like 90 cents, whatever it had gone back to like 12 cents.
Yeah.
And Luna, dead. went from like $120 at its peak, and now it's like 0.002 cents. It was horrible. And there's like this was a legitimate project. It was a top 6 by market cap, and people lost everything. Like you're down 99.9% if you held it.
Yeah.
And it was a disaster.
And it's a good thing to keep in mind, like when you're investing in crypto, if literally it could be gone that fast. Like if you aren't looking at your accounts and you had a bunch of Luna, you can't sell it in time, and you aren't following the news, then you lose all your money. Mm-hmm. And who knows, that could happen with Solana, it could happen with Ethereum. We really don't know, which is why it's so risky. But that was
crazy. And
it's just a whole nother thing. Like with crypto, it's just the whole market is going down just because of that. I mean, if you look at like the Nasdaq and like compare it to Bitcoin right now, Bitcoin is just way lower than the Nasdaq is on a percentage basis, which is something to keep in mind. I mean, usually they mirror each other, which is like what's been the trend. But right now, crypto is just tanking so like super hard, which maybe that means a bull market will come from crypto when Nasdaq isn't. Who knows?
Yeah, and like the past 2 weeks, the crypto market lost like $300 billion of value.
Yeah.
Which pretty much essentially started right after this whole fiasco.
Yeah.
And the funny thing was, so the creator, the founder of Luna, his name's Do Kwon, and everyone wanted him to step down, and he proposed this thing. They split, right? And it was like Luna Classic, I think, and Luna or Terra 2.0, something like that. And so he was leading one of them, and they relaunched, right? And everyone was like, oh, like blah blah blah, like the relaunching was supposed to be this big thing. First day it goes live, down 80%. Like it's hopeless now.
Well, so they launched a whole other protocol, or it was like a fork kind
Yeah, it was sort of a fork, but they had to relaunch like their own coin.
Yeah.
And it just
try to restart. Yeah, I don't know. They should have waited at least like a few months, like let people like chill out and let the fear go away, and then maybe try to launch it back up. But they really could not save themselves on that.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do. Like their whole thing was centered around this algorithmic stablecoin working, and it just like everyone just watched it fail miserably. So
yeah,
there's only so much.
That's a big like problem I personally have, like with whatever the small coins, altcoins and stuff. Like it's people that created the project, and like if they make some mistake or if they make the wrong deal, they have complete control over the project. And if it fails, it's all their fault. Like you're basically you're investing your money in someone else's decisions. So, but unlike Bitcoin, obviously it's its own system. There's no one running it. There's no one that can change it, unless if everyone makes a consensus to change it. But it's rare that happens. So it's like just make sure you guys are staying away from altcoins and like know why crypto is so important. And like Bitcoin is like the founding father of crypto. So make sure you guys are not throwing your money into random altcoins.
that's one of the big critiques of Solana, is since obviously it's got a founder, Anatoly Yakolev. Sorry, I totally butchered that. I don't remember how you pronounce it, but a lot of times they'll have issues and they just pause the blockchain. Like you can't do anything, just pause until they fix it, and everyone just. That's like one of the main reasons they get so much hate.
Yeah,
it's because like that's kind of scary for something you're invested in. Just pause it. You can't do anything with any of your stuff invested in it.
It's kind of crazy, like looking at like there's a bunch of other stuff. Not only did like crypto crash, but there's so much bad stuff going on right now. Like Russia and Ukraine, I mentioned, like people don't know when that solution is going to escalate, if it's going to just disappear and they're signing a treaty. If Russia like attacks a whole nother country, like we have no idea like what's going on. So same thing with China. China, like I'm pretty sure they were like flying like 30 planes in Taiwan airspace right now. And it's like, why are you doing that? And it's just like more escalation and more fear. So it's like all these things that are like combining together to cause like so much fear and sell off in the market. And they're like, they can't trust their money in the stock market or in public markets right now because no one knows what's going to happen. And like, that's something you got to be aware of. Like if you see like these things like building up and they might escalate, you got to like try to think ahead of time and be like, okay, if all these things are coming together and all these bad things might affect the market, then you might want to consider not buying or reducing your positions in some time and holding cash. But like we were saying, if you're holding cash, you're losing money to inflation, and gas prices are just insane right now. I mean, do you think they're going to keep climbing, or?
I don't know. I really hope not. It's like every time I go to fill up my tank, it's like $85. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
That's like a whole shift.
And over in Washington State, we were filling up for like $6 a gallon, which is just insane. Yeah, I can't imagine like working over there or like living over there and relying, and then I come back over here, it's like $4.30. I'm like, okay, $4.30 is a lot better than $6. Like it was like a good adjustment.
I mean, yeah, that's way out of my area of expertise. But
Yeah.
I mean, some podcasts that I do listen to, they're little hope. We still got a lot of people think we still have a couple more months at least of just straight up inflation.
There's so many moving pieces right now. It's like
Mm-hmm.
no one can predict anything right now, which is, I don't know. It's kind of why that's why the market's going down. It's causing so much fear. But yeah. And then obviously the reason like people like right now, if you guys are like watching like specific stocks, obviously SPY or like VU, they're safe. It's a basket of stocks that is going to be safe over the long term, but there's a bunch of stocks that are just hitting really hard right now. And that's like in times of like fear and like recession fears, people are going to move their assets away from like growth stocks, and they're going to move it towards like companies they know are going to survive. Obviously, Apple, I don't think it's going anywhere in 10 years from now after all this is over with. Hopefully, it might not be over with. Who knows what's going to happen? And then like Google, and like people are moving their stocks or moving their money into stocks that are like trustworthy and they know that's going to exist. So you might want to think about that when you're positioning.
Yeah, and that's what's even more crazy is like the typical like safe stocks, because they're just so big. It's like the thing, right? And you look at like Netflix, not even considered a part of FANG anymore because it's down 80%. Facebook down like 60-70%, and even like Apple, Google, Amazon down like 30 or 40. It's crazy.
Yeah, Nvidia too. Did you say that?
Yeah, well, yeah, Nvidia's a lot of people say like it replaced Netflix, and they're just, I mean, it doesn't matter what stock you look at.
Everything is just down, except
oil.
Yeah, I was about to say, or yeah, I've seen Albemarle is a good one too.
A lot of like consumer staples and stuff like that.
Yeah, because they're not going anywhere. But then also retail took a hit too. Like you would think,
it's crazy.
It's just like the inflation, like we were talking about. People are afraid to spend their money. Like Target, I think they reported like way below estimate like revenue for the year or the quarter or something, and they dropped like 30%, and then the whole market was tanking because of that. Because like if people aren't going to Target to spend money on clothes and like furniture, then people aren't going to be spending money anywhere, which is like what this whole fear is about.
So Gap, the same thing with Gap, which is
Really?
another pretty big retail. They're just way below what they were expecting.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. We're in a tough time right now.
Yeah.
But you know what?
Yep.
You just got to keep buying.
In the long run.
In the long run, if you look at SPY, guys, if you guys ever need like confirmation, just Google a chart SPY like last 20 years. It's probably going to be 100% for sure. Pretty sure we covered that in our first episode. The Roth IRA, it has not been like not 100% in the past 20 years, like in any 20-year time frame.
It's never been negative over a 20-year time frame.
Yeah, that's insane. So,
and it's been around for 150 years.
Yeah, so if you're 20 years old or in your 20s or 30s even, you still have 40 more years till retirement. If you're just investing to retire, which most people should just do that, stick to a Roth IRA and just invest money in that.
But like, what's that secret little tool that helps us when, even if we only have 30, 40 years left? It's compound interest.
You're right. And obviously compound interest is not working for us right now, but over time it just keeps getting better, because 10 years from now it might be only up 10%, and then it might go down a bit and then come back up 10%, and so it just keeps compounding. Any gain in the short run is exponential in the long run.
And especially discounts like this is when the compounding can really just, like, if opposed to, so say, 4 months ago, and now since then the market's down 20%, you putting your money in now and continuing to put it in a tough time like this just helps you compound faster.
Okay, yeah. I just want to illustrate something for the viewers here. Okay, if we flash back to like 2008, what would you guess SPY is at? The like top of 2008, not the bottom, obviously.
The top?
After, yeah.
170.
Okay, that was pretty close, guys. I don't know if you cheated this time or not, but it's the top. Think about that. The top of 2008 of SPY was at 156. Okay, and then they went through 2 years of just selling off the market, and you're like, oh, like if you were living in that time zone, you're like, oh, this is never going to end. I'm never going to get my money back. Guess what SPY is at now? Even after the drawdown, it's still at like 413, 400. I don't know exactly right now what it closed at, but just think about that in the long run. These recessions, they're bounces. They're gonna bounce out eventually in the long run. Don't be fearful. If you guys are investing in the long term, don't think, oh, I need to pull out all my money. Just honestly, if you're young, keep buying, and don't put all your money in. Obviously, if you don't invest anything that you're not willing to lose.
Yeah, it's just like in the same way of don't be too fearful. Don't be too like greedy. Just because the market fell a bunch doesn't mean you should put all your money in right now. And even like certain specific stocks, like, oh, this stock's down 60%, that doesn't mean you need to buy more. I mean, the real safe stuff is the S&P 500 and whatever other index. This is just an overall thing, opposed to certain specific stocks that may not come back from this.
Yeah, or mutual funds. Just
groups
really, of stocks is really the safest
fund,
thing you can do. We talked about it in our Roth IRA episode. It was just such a wonderful,
such a good episode.
Such a great first episode to ASAP.
So just go watch that real quick.
It's probably already linked up, but yeah. I guess this was a solid episode. Do you have anything else
first
to add?
episode back?
Yeah, no, got a little jitters coming in after not recording for 2 weeks, but it's fun to be back. We got to get some more guests on. And
we can line some up.
For sure. I really just want to talk to more people and just be like, what do you do? How did you get where you were? But yeah, I'm excited. Make sure you guys drop any comments or suggestions that you guys want us to see. Our audience is super big right now, so if we don't see your comment, just let us know and we'll be fine. We'll see you guys eventually. We might not respond to everyone, where there's just a bunch of comments right now on our YouTube. So, but yeah, thanks for watching.
Thank you.
See you next time.